about to start. If everyone could please take their seats, and please feel free to fill in the front. So if you're in the back, fill in the front rows first, and now you'll get the best seat in the house next to the OZO cameras. Thank you. Please have a seat, everyone. We're about to start in 2 minutes. Thank you.
On camera, like really on camera. You're okay with that?
Wait, really?
We're gonna see everything that you do. You're okay with that, right? Because it's right here.
Or do you mean we're virtually on camera?
You're this right here. Yeah.
Just don't switch to this one that often.
Well, no, this is also where I'm taking audio from, so everything you say
So
will be
yeah,
really
so
loud.
we need to keep the.
So if we talk about Nate,
We can't. We'll hear.
always say Nate. I'm in the register and
That's when you want to have it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you guys so much for coming. My name is Ned. I work with Upload. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background on this event, how it came to be. So as you guys know, the mission of Upload is to accelerate the AR and VR industry and support the community wherever possible. With Nokia, they've created a state-of-the-art virtual reality camera, the Nokia OZO. So we thought, what a better way to accelerate the industry and get more creators out there than partnering with Nokia and a couple of 360 experts and do a masterclass, teaching people how to use the camera and how to be creative with the medium. A couple things I want to point out tonight is obviously this class is live streamed to a virtual audience around the world. So we have multiple OZO cameras in the audience, one right there, 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 and there. So we have several cameras, and those are all streaming in 360. So just be conscious of that throughout the performance. Tonight's class is with Juan Santillan. He is the CEO and founder of Vantage TV. And he has done live streaming for massive music festivals, including Coachella and Austin City Limits. And with that, I have the pleasure of introducing Juan to teach your class.
Thank you, Ned. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for being here, despite the rain and the cold. Thank you to Nokia and Upload VR for inviting me. It's quite a pleasure. And of course, welcome to the audience that is watching us in virtual reality. You know, you are actually going to have the best seat in the house. We have 4 cameras all around us. I also want to say hi to my kids and my wife in Texas. So it's 9 p.m., almost bedtime. Hello, and go to bed in 10 minutes. So first of all, let me just give you a very quick introduction about Vantage TV. We empower physical events to connect with an audience in virtual reality. We give them tools to create, distribute, and monetize live virtual reality events. In the last 2 years, we've done over 120 music performances live in virtual reality. We've worked with pretty awesome events like Coachella, Lollapalooza, Austin City Limits, Outside Lands here in San Francisco, and last month we did the biggest esport event, League of Legends Championship. Austin City Limits and League of Legends, we did it actually with the Nokia system. So, as you can imagine, we are super excited about live events in virtual reality. And we are very excited, not only because it's cool, it's a technology trend, and all the hype and everything that is happening in the industry and the support of the companies like Nokia, Google, Samsung, etc. We are very excited about live events in virtual reality because we think it actually solves a problem. It's a solution to the cap demand that every physical event has. If you think about it, I'm going to give you 2 examples in the music business, right? Concerts. We have, of course, Taylor Swift. She has about 70 million fans on Twitter, and her last tour, she sold 2.3 million tickets, right? That's a sold-out show on every city, and still 67 million of her fans couldn't make it to the show. But then you have an example, another tour, Neil Diamond. Last year, even though he has 1.5 million fans on Facebook, and his tour was not a sold-out tour, but still there were over 800 people that, people that are fans on the social networks that wouldn't make it to the show. So the reality is that there's attendance friction. And we normally think that, the biggest friction will be inventory, right? This show is sold out. But we also have other factors like location, like time, like price. We always think, and we think one very powerful is age, right? My kids cannot be here, and then I just can't go anymore to concerts like Snoop Dogg or things like that. So, but I like Snoop Dogg, so yeah, in virtual reality, I can be that age again. So we think that virtual reality will help us reduce or mitigate some of these factors, and that's why we're super excited. But then on the other side, and more importantly, we're excited because in the last 2 years, as we've been showing our production and our software and everything to real fans, we're seeing the real power of virtual reality, right? We've always thought that there's like 3 big attributes that we want to bring to these fans remotely. One is, presence. That's what happened the first time we all experienced virtual reality. Like, we call that attribute presence. But there's a couple of things that we believe are a little bit more powerful in virtual reality. And the first one is that it gives access that even the people that are here can have. And also, there's like this other element of intimacy. In virtual reality, you feel like you belong. It feels like Taylor Swift, who will never in her life look at me, it feels like she's performing for me. So we call it internally, well, we have too many names for hair, but One is Double Rainbow, but the other one, like she is like the Metallica girl. This girl, she stayed there on the headset for 25 minutes, and we have the 25 minutes on video. And you cannot imagine the reaction, the passion. She was there, and she was having an amazing experience. The thing is that Metallica was performing 150 feet away from her. She could just take the headset off, and she will be watching Metallica performing. But she was having a better experience in the headset. This is why virtual reality and live events in virtual reality are exciting to us, because it's real. So what I wanted to talk a little bit on this event is just some of the best practices, things that we've learned in the past 2 years that can help you if you are interested in producing an event in virtual reality. Certainly, I don't consider myself a master, but I appreciate that, the Masterclass. But I think like anybody that thinks that is a master today in virtual reality is wrong. We have too much to learn, and that's the other thing that is fascinating, like the industry, the equipment, the production, how we interact even with the events itself is just changing so fast. So first thing, I want to define what do we consider like a successful VR cast. And this is important because it's no longer just about we stream in VR or we stream in 360. We need to set the standards and push the envelope, and have higher standards. So right now we consider 4 very important things that if after the event that we just broadcasted, we're good on these 4 things, then we're gonna be happy that it was successful. The first one and most important, of course, is like, did we created something fun, right? Something engaging. And especially in live events, like the 2-minute, 3-minute VR experience is not enough. We need to create an experience that minimum a fan or an audience will want to be there for 15 or 25 minutes before the Gear VR overheats. We want to be there. We want the fan to actually say, oh, it overheated. So that's very important, and that's what we call production value. Like, again, it's no longer about just the technical accomplishment, but really bring production value. The second thing is being not intrusive. We're still guests on these events. It's a new technology. So you have to respect the artist or the talent. You have to respect the fans, and you have to respect, like we normally, every time that we're doing events, there's also a regular 2D production going on, a telecast or a webcast. So you have to be very mindful of that and have to, balance and be in harmony and coordinate with them. But it wouldn't matter if at the end of the event we thought that we had a successful VR cast, and then the artist is backstage saying like, bad things and not pretty things about those cameras and that guy that was, disturbing his performance. So we need to be very mindful about that. The third thing, and reliability. It seems obvious, but it's not anymore an excuse to say that you had a bad stream or you had technical problems, because now we have a lot of technology to support it all the way. So, when we do big festivals, we're streaming constantly 7 simultaneous cameras for 3 days, 10 hours every day. Or if we, like League of Legends, was a 7-hour streams, like you have to deliver. And again, that's why also Nokia has created an amazing technology that allows us, the producers, to feel confident about the backbone of our production, and so we can be more creative and focus on other things. And then the fourth thing, and as important as the rest, is like there has to be positive return of investment on the content, for the content right holder, for the event. And that is still on the producer, right? Like if at the end of the show, the fans, the audience, whoever experienced the virtual reality stream is saying good things about it, that comes back to the content right holder to say, I want to do this again. If we are producing good quality and things that are attracting an audience, then our clients can bring sponsorship and so on and so forth. So it is, we're not selling sometimes sponsorships or monetization for our clients, but it is also kind of like our responsibility to make sure that whatever we do represent them well, in front of their partners. So I'm going to try to summarize a lot of our processes in 5 very important steps prior to delivering a hopefully successful show. So the first thing, pre-production, that's pretty standard. It's basically the time that we spend prepping for the event. We normally, our pre-production times are between 2 and 4 weeks, more for maybe 6 weeks for bigger events. But we first, it all starts with what we call the creative concept. Believe me that 3 years ago, when we were called to do an event or to stream in 360, it was just, okay, great. At what time do we need to be there? Awesome. We'll be there. We will arrive, and then we'll just place cameras, and that's that, right? Again, not anymore. Right now, you need to push the standards. So the creative, we study the event. We study the performances. We go to YouTube, and our creative director will watch every performance. We'll get the backstory. We'll check their music videos. We'll try to find what's the last single, so we can also bring back graphics and things that are identified with the artist or with the event. You have to be mindful of the deliverables, right? We're going to produce a VR cast. How many hours? How many days? Do you want recordings afterward for VOD distribution? Well, that impacts your DIT, etc. So once we decide and figure out what is going to be our creative and the deliverables, then we can start scoping the team that we need. We normally, in big events, we have 35 people working to produce this. Again, it used to be just 3 of us, 4 of us. Right now, everything is so critical that you need more people. Define the tech and the equipment that matches the creative, the logistics. And as you can imagine, now there's way more things that you need to coordinate. You have to be coordinating not only your equipment, but also when you are in an event, there's assigned vendors by an event like power, internet, things like that. You have to coordinate all of that. Travel, lodging for 30 plus people. 3 years ago, our logistics and all of these was just booking flights. The coordination with other teams, like I was saying, and finally, graphic assets. These past 6 months, we've been toying a lot with how to bring mixed reality experiences into our streams, and it has been amazing. And I encourage everybody to explore that side of live streaming and virtual reality. I think 2017, that's going to be one of the key differentiators where we can not only bring these best seat in the house to the audience, but also additional elements of interactivity. The second step is the event setup. And depending on the size of the event, we normally have a setup day of 2 days or up to 5 days. Like when we do big music festivals, we normally stay on the grounds about a week. Because there's a lot of things to do. So let me tell you a little bit about the teams that we have to deploy. So the first thing, we deploy our individual teams or units. We have a stage unit. Basically there we have operators, riggers, monitoring. We have our activation team. And the activation team is similar to what the team of Nokia is doing back there, where the fans and the audience on the event can actually go and watch these on the headset. Video workflow, so that's, as you can imagine, all of this is video, right? And we need to make sure that the video that is being captured on the camera goes all the way to our video village. For this event, which is Austin City Limits, that's 7,000 feet of fiber. And that's the stuff that we need to coordinate. So it's not only, as you can imagine, it's not only technology coordination, but then also how you communicate and how do you manage those distances. And then on Video Village, there's basically two things that are happening. On one side, we have our IT and tech team. They take care of everything on engineering and software. In this case, for example, stitching some of the graphic assets that we need to do, the networking, encoding, things like that. And then we have our transmission team, which is, at the end of the day, all these setup and everything that we're doing prior is so the transmission team, once the show starts, can execute. So we deploy these teams. Everybody starts working independently and start testing independently. Then, after a few days, we're ready to do like a full testing, again, internally. We make sure at that point that we test everything, and as we have kind of like a timeline. That's the beauty about live events, right? It's like the event will start at 5 p.m. on Friday. So you have X amount of time to make it happen, and as it's approaching, it just becomes like super interesting. Timing, critical, hectic, etc. So once we're done with our full systems, we then do like a full rehearsal. What I'm trying to say is that there's not enough that you can do to keep testing and testing and making sure that everything is working. Live events' nature is to fall apart. Like I sometimes like wonder, like really, like why? Why is this happening to us, right? But that's the nature of a live event. You have zero control. Just one example that I'm gonna give you. We were on this huge, reputable event, top-notch venue, whatnot, and we are all set up. We are ready 6 hours prior to our broadcast, and someone else, a team from I think the light team or something like that, they were still connecting things for themselves, and they took the, I don't know how to say it, but basically they disconnected all the fiber of our 7 cameras without telling us, without telling anybody, and at that point you just go pitch black, and these are like big venues, big things where like it's not as easy to identify what happened. So that's kind of like the stuff that can happen on a live event. If you don't have a team that is capable to react to adversity, then you're gonna be in bad shape. But the biggest tip that I wanna give you on this setup is that you need to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. The other element that is, let's say, in virtual reality king, camera positions is king in live and in narrative and everything. And this is the art, I guess. It's an art, yes, it's an art that we have crafted, and you polish that art just by doing it too many times, by being in the headset, by watching what others are doing, and trying to put yourself on the on the user side. So here we have a lot of things that we need to understand. Number one rule, I'm gonna come back to these: be out of the way. Again, it's like believe me, every time we have a new crew and every time we start an event, it's kind of like the first thing that we tell to everybody: respect the artist, respect the fans, and respect the 2D production. And not only is about respecting, it's also about coordinating. Like that, I think, yeah, like 2 years ago it was respecting. It was like, hey, let me make sure I'm not on your way. I think this year it was more like a collaboration. It's like, hey, do you mind if I'm there? Am I too close? Am I in your shot of your 2D camera? We coordinate. We rarely, just very few times, we do talk directly with the bands or the artists, but most of the times we coordinate with their production managers. But it's a matter of us first positioning cameras and then trying to get a sign-off, etc. But in any case, you don't want to surprise anybody. And I have too many stories about that as well. So once you are mindful of rule number 1, your rule number 2 is to do anything in your power without disturbing rule number 1 to now defend the user in virtual reality, which is, what is the best angle? How close can I get so I can achieve access and intimacy? And that's like tap dancing, but we've seen, and we're super happy that, especially this year and for what we're doing now in 2017, is that the artists and the events are warming up to virtual reality. So it's actually now easier, especially when they have seen it. And another tip is that you always want to have a headset close to the stage. You never know. There's always someone that it's not open to the idea of doing some things that you want them to do because the camera is close to the drums or whatnot. But once they see it in virtual reality, like, this is what we want to do, this is what we are going to do for your band if you allow us, then they are way more open to help. Another point is that don't just place cameras. Every time you're placing a camera, you have to identify what or who is the subject for that camera. And for that camera, back in the audience, the subject is not me. I am the context. The subject is actually the people around that camera. And you have to do that on every camera. We even, when we're placing cameras, or at least like my team and myself, we're kind of like even cutting the show in our head. We're thinking, okay, if the camera is here, and because we already know the layout of the artist and we've seen the shows, it's like, where do these cameras need to be? Because that's what my director is going to have to cut. So think about that. Identify a subject. And then finally, and you're going to see it on that diagram, basically you always want to balance. So in this case, you end up like with a circular. Like you're basically just trying to cover as many vantage points as possible. I'm going to give you like a precise example. So let's go over positions. Imagine that we only had one camera, right? So if you only had one camera, where will you put it? Well, of course, you'll have to put it in the center, in the middle, as close possible to the main subject, right? Although I wouldn't, at this point in time, I will not advise anybody to do a one-camera broadcast at this point. But if you had one, you will put it there. If we had two cameras, well, the second biggest or most important place to be will be, that's what we call our profile camera. Why? Because there we have a shot to our main subject, which is different from what this one is giving me. And then in that case, there's also like another band member. Also, that camera or the profile camera has a straight line to the audience, etc. So as you can see, you have to kind of like identify what is that camera going to be doing for your broadcast, and if that camera was in a different position, what will be that trade-off? If we had three cameras, in this example, for example, and then going back to what we're talking about balance, most likely we'll put it over there behind the drums. Drums are not only super dynamic shot, amazing in virtual reality, but it's also helping you create some kind of like establishing shot, because you see the drummer, you see your main talent it's not gonna be close, but then you also see how big is the venue and the fans and whatnot. If you have a fourth camera, what we do, we always want them to come back to another important element of presence, which is, let's go to the audience. Because that's where the people in virtual reality, here with these cameras, they're looking into the intimacy and access. When they're there, they're seeing their peers. They're seeing the other people having fun. So very important to have that kind of shot. And then finally, if we had a fifth camera, most likely we'll put it there. Why? Because now I have full coverage of the entire stage. And of course, on this diagram, you will think that these artists are really not moving. to the stage, right? They're gonna be stationary, but imagine that was like someone like Florence on the Machine, right? Where she's like just all over the place. Well, with this setup, basically what you have achieved, and imagine you don't have a sixth camera, but what you have achieved is like, with this camera on the audience, you are not only getting the audience and that perspective of being inside of the audience, but also you are giving coverage to the left side of the stage, on the front, not only the profile. So I will tell you that, especially on these big music festivals where we do like 15 performances, 5 performances per day, you have 15 minutes to take, well, you have 3 minutes to take all your equipment out of the stage, then Guns N' Roses come in, and then you have literally 10 minutes to place everything around them. So this is one of the most critical tasks, and potentially, yeah, that's where we spend a lot of our energy when we're working and producing. Once you get your locations, then you have a second task related to positioning, which is the orientation. So yes, one thing is to have that, but then now what happens is that we send it to the control room, and as you know, well, we can pan these cameras here. You always want to make sure that all the cameras, if you think like, I don't know if, I'm sure you see these cameras, but you can see that all the cameras right now are kind of looking at me, pointing at me. And that's also the case with the OZO server, because something that is really incredible is that real time, they can change the panning and the orientation of your camera. The reason why we do it this way is because now that we have a multicam stream and the audience is going to be every now and then they're going to go to a different scene, we don't want them to be disoriented. So you have to make sure that even if someone is just looking forward, that change is actually organic. So again, orientation, very important. And then finally, stitching. Again, another of the incredible things that we can do with the OZO server is that real time, once we set up everything, then we have someone there that doesn't have to be on the stage, that doesn't have to interrupt anything, that is doing our real-time stitching, and it's super, super easy just to, well, not super, super easy, just easy enough to actually get it right. And another tip is that vibration is your worst enemy. Maybe not your worst enemy, but it's pretty bad. The reason I bring this up, because there's like all these little things that you are not thinking. You are thinking on the big, big things. But then when you realize that you put your cameras, everything's in place, all looks perfect, you get out of the stage, all clear, Metallica is performing, and there's a PA just behind that beautiful camera that was like great looking at the piano guy. But that PA is now causing this horrible vibration that literally shuts down that camera. So those little things are the ones that can, make you sad. So like our team, we have them. We go through them. It's like, okay, we finish all the big things, but then let's go and work on the small things that can be big. And with that, the reason we know that is because we've messed too many times with these things. So on vibration, part of the scouting that you want to do when you're doing a live performance event is you go and actually check the performance, the stage, you see it's plywood on the raise, you never place a camera on the riser of a drummer, those things, like for example, that's pretty solid, I know there's not going to be vibration, checking out where the sources of PA buffers are around the stage, etc. We created, we at least manufactured some special gel pads that we put in our C-stands that we use on stage, things like that. But vibration is very important to control that. Then number 4, it's all your technology. that you're using for the transmission. And I apologize that I didn't use like a diagram with systems and servers, but I'm pretty sure that you can find that on Nokia.com, OZO.com. But at least wanted to mention like the key components on the technology that you are going to be deploying here. So, of course, first of all, you have your camera, in this case, the OZO system. Then you have to make sure that that video hits what we call a stitching server. And at that point, the independent feeds and lenses of this camera now become an equirectangular, either stereoscopic or monoscopic. Today, we're streaming stereoscopic to Samsung VR, and we're streaming monoscopic to YouTube 360. Then on the stitching servers, as I was telling you, something amazing about the OZO servers is that they're stitching, but then they also help you with the panning. They also help you with coloring. Like, you have a lot of control, and the better signal that is going out to the rest of the workflow, then you're going to be, of course, in good shape. The next thing that is very important to account for is audio. So even though we are technology and a video production company, in our team there's audio people that are making sure that we have the best audio. Like, everybody here will agree that audio is instrumental to a good VR experience. And again, I come back to these like little details that sometimes we oversee, which is like, oh my gosh, we just did this. We have all this technology deployed. We have the video. It looks amazing on the headset, whatnot. Performance starts, and the audio is scratchy, delayed, or whatnot. And then you are like, oh, you can't do anything about that at that point. So audio, very important. The last few years we've been doing, the way that we ingest audio into our mixer is basically the stereo mix coming from the stage, and we ingest it, and we pair that with our video. We are now transitioning this year. We're very excited that most of the distribution platform, as well as our applications, now support immersive audio formats. Nokia has also amazing solutions that they're going to be talking soon about those, but they've been pioneers in making sure that there's way to position audio live on the streams. So audio is super important. And then, basically we're bringing audio, we're bringing our video into our switcher. That's where everything kind of like comes together. And then the graphics, right? As I was telling you, like right now we're super keen on figuring out how to, make even more interesting this broadcast. So we are also like, that's another side of live VR that is going to be developed, which is like the live graphics. Another important thing is, making sure that you have the good coloring. We have a great DP that takes care of that in our case. And finally, and this is like the encoding. And whoever is not familiar about encoding is just like taking the video signals from the format, from the raw format, compressing it into H.264 or H.265, which is the format that can travel now on the web, that is going to become your stream. So basically, the last 35 minutes of talk, all of that can just go down if our encoder fails. Everything it's actually now, holding on that thing. So, big advice, make sure you're using a reliable and the best encoding in the business. And we've been using for many years elemental encoders. There are more solutions now. It's pretty exciting. But don't spare, like, you can't buy reputation. That's what I can tell you, right? So make sure you're working with the best, like in the cameras with OZO. And yeah, that's like a typical day. Finally, okay, well, another tip real quickly. Sorry, audio sync. Yes. The reason I mention is because it's one of those little things that you leave for the very end, But once the event starts, you don't want to be caught with your fingers in the door, because if the event starts and you are out of sync, it will take you 5 or 10 more times the time to actually fix it, because you are panicking, because things are not going, like you start your stream and things are not going well already. So put it on a checklist, like these are the things that we should never forget: audio syncing. And finally, the show just started, right? Going back to the successful VR cast slide, I just want to say that this is the other piece where we're allowed to be creative. We've done the work. We did the pre-pro. We have all the technology deployed. Now it's about the artist, the talent, and that's our job. At that point, it's not about us. It's how are we going to make him look the best? Because if we do that, then we're also creating an amazing experience for the people that are following us in virtual reality. So just to give you an idea, like the people, like here we have a control room. The people that we normally take to an event just to create that final line cut, we have a director, we have a switcher, the guy that is actually changing camera positions. We have a graphics operator, we have a DP, and the DP not only takes care of like color and everything, the visuals of our setup, but also it's coordinating with the stage, right? At that point, when we're live, we're also talking with all the operators, etc., if there's a need to do any adjustment with cameras, etc. And very quickly, this is something that we're still learning, so I don't even feel comfortable to give a long list on how to cut. It's like, by all means, like first do what you think is good, but check it out before you do it on a headset, and keep doing it if you like it. But always follow or stay where the action is happening. Feel the music, if it's a music event. To esports events, we have a switcher. For music events, we have another person in our team. For a country music event, we have someone. You have to like it. You have to feel the music, because that's, at the end of the day, what you're broadcasting. And then this is, I will think, like the most controversial thing right now in directing multicam is like, how short is too short, how long is too long. Our experience is we like the shortest that we want to go when we're doing live is between 8 seconds. So between 8 and 12 seconds, that's like a good timing to go and take the audience to the next camera. But then stay longer if needed. Stay longer if right now I'm talking to this camera, of course you want to stay longer. You don't have to change just because it's second 13. And then, similar to everything that we've talked about, balance your cuts. Balance your cuts, meaning give variety, right? Not only stay on one location. So, that's all. That's all for me. But now we're going to have an amazing performance by Megan Slankard. She's an amazing singer. Give us just like 2 minutes to set up. This performance is going to be recorded for her YouTube channel. So please be a great audience, okay? And I'll be back for a Q&A.
Yeah, how about another hand for Juan Santillan from Vantage TV. Now, I encourage you to just stay put. We're going to set the lights. We're going to go to Slate on our live recording here. We're going to just get the line up and running, and then we'll begin our little show. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight for this very special performance, filmed in three-dimensional 360 virtual reality by the OZO camera from Megan Slankard.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap, push it half back, get me off to bed. I think I'm dying slightly after a day like that. Oh, it starts out dark, sun started to bark, it stabbed like a fork and nothing much forgiving about the way that we are. Oh, I got a heart hanging around by the door. I've got grace hanging in the mirror, and I've got you. I've got you. I've got you. A little souvenir, a token of the wreckage. Oh. Ooh. We don't argue, we're tired of that too. Spoons clinking or soup, but we're weary so young. Probably means that we're doomed. Say nothing to me, make that turn of the beat of defeat, fair game for all. I want a piece of our dream. I've got a heart hanging around by the door. I've got grace hanging in the mirror, and I've got you. I've got you. I've got you. A little souvenir, a token of the wreckage. Ooh. Inclined to say you're quite the quandary. Oh, and I keep thinking maybe that's my problem. Just stop thinking. Chip on it, step on it, drip on it, dump on them. Foolish to believe that I can't be foolish. Oh, my head spins, I won't stop. I wish I would just shut up. Please stop, please stop. Like I said, I got a heart. I've got grace hanging in the mirror, and I've got you. I've got you. I've got you. A little souvenir, a token of the wreckage. Ooh. Ooh.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much.
With God looking down, I'll wait it out into the water. I can drink this dry, or I can drown. Weigh my options after the fire's burning hot, and the dogs, they're just doing their job. The truck is looking like the better option. I just throw my clothes in and I die. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth it, worth it. Oh, ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth it, worth it. I have never been as good as this at a swim by icy sands address. It's a good motivation. The islands are too far, my only hope. Without a ship, it's a friendly bunch of fish. A dream I'm going down, but the foot from up in, I'm fooled, I won't win, I won't win. Oh, ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth it, worth it. Oh, ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth it, worth it. Oh, ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth all that I spend. Ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth it in the end. Ooh. 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 Cutting off your finger, there is this moment which I still can feel, but my muscles, they're frozen over like a photo of an imbecile. The beach is to my left, and the dogs, they look like pets. When I'm this close to losing, and even turning back don't look that bad. If I won't lay a little closer. Ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth it, worth it all. Ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth it, worth it. Oh, oh, ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth all that I spend. Ooh, ooh. That's all my life is worth it in the end.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've never been in virtual reality before. It's kind of exciting.
You threw a party, I threw a punch. Said bring a cold bottle, but I brought a warm gun. You wanna have a family, wanna have a good time. You're looking to the future, I'm just looking for another glass of wine. Hey, you see the best in me. Well, I say it's just a chance to get up and leave. you got big dreams. I got a lot of regrets. You said every day is special, but my day ain't even started yet. You wanna have a conscience. Sometimes you wish you never met me. You don't know why I stay here. Don't know why you haven't left me. I can see the best in me. All I say is just a chance to get up and leave. Ooh, the best in me. Oh, but the best, I confess, ain't as good as it could be. And your heart is beating all the time. I haven't seen that part of me in quite a while, and I don't know what I'll find when you're picking up my pieces, putting down another two day. Got a lot of things on your mind. Some of them might be my demons. How you see the best in me? Well, I say just a chance to get up and leave. Ooh, the best in me. Oh, but the best to confess ain't as good as it could be. Ooh, the best in me. Oh, yeah, the best in me. Ah, yeah, the best in me. Oh, but the best to confess ain't as good as it could be.
Thank you kindly. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having us. Really appreciate it. This is Jeff Simons, by the way. I was. Hi. Hi, Mom.
I got a big load, have been so broke for most of my life. I've gotten this close, I can almost feel just what it's like. And if it's all gonna go on up in smoke, you know I'm gonna go out on a high note. Got all my work done, time for my big plans. I'm in too deep to back out of them. If it leaves me here cold and broke, you know I'm gonna go out on a high note. Yes, I'm making the most, I'm gonna give it my all. On a high note, on a high note. I can't believe time goes so fast. Got too much to do in what I have left. If it leaves me here cold and broke, You know I'm gonna go out on a high note. Yes, I'm making the most. I'm gonna give it my all. On a high note. On a high note. Go out on a high note, on a high note.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Megan Slankard, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Megan. So, thank you all for sticking around. We're now going to invite Juan Santillan back up to have a little questions and answers. We had a lot of fun with this on Tuesday night, and I'll hand off to Juan.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. Again, appreciate it. Okay, and
Question.
has the microphone. Yep.
I noticed there's not a lens on the back of the hardware. Is it a better quality picture towards the front then, as a result?
Yes. Yes. So the design of the OZO gives you stereoscopic everywhere, but in the back. And even though we don't have a lens, they do found a way to make sure that even if the user looks back, there's some missing content, but the reality is that it's not intrusive for the user. Yep. And the other thing is that it's not that there's not a lens behind it. You have to think that this lens, or I'm sorry that I'm touching a live camera. These lens, the side lens, are 180 degrees field of view. So they are also looking in that direction.
How is the audio done right now? Is it also 360 or is that not?
Right now they're doing two things. On one hand, they have the stereo mix coming from the console here, but then they also are bringing audio from that camera over there on the audience, and they're mixing it into the broadcast. Yeah, but it's stereo audio today.
Just to follow up on that, the OZO camera actually captures full surround sound, but production workflow for live video with full spherical surround sound basically doesn't exist today. There's a number of companies who are working on it, but as of now, you kind of have to collapse to surround for live video production.
Hi. So normally with a live, say a sporting event, you'd have to really pay attention to the 180-degree rule, like the good guys go that way, the bad guys go that way. Is that sort of the same thing with VR, or can you play with that a little bit?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. Like with sporting event, you have to maintain the 180-degree rule. This guy's always going that way, and that guy's always going that way. Does that still apply, and how much?
It does, a lot. And that's kind of like why it's very important to achieve that balance and the coverage depending on what you are covering, right? You know, the talent. So in this case, as you can see, I can go almost everywhere on the stage, and I'm going to be in the, close to a shot of something. That's kind of like done on purpose. Of course, this is a very small stage, but think about like when we do like these big stages and music festivals, we have to think about that. We have to think that if the lead singer is in the center, that he's close to a camera, right? So we are achieving our goals. But then that's why, for example, we do a lot of that profiling. If he moves to the very edge of the stage, then another camera is going to pick that up. So that's right now how we have addressed that. The other way that because especially if you are covering such a big stage or dynamic event, it's not only about saying, okay, then we need 15 OZOs, right? Like that's a solution that can't scale. But we're getting more creative on then how we rig them. So here, for example, you see a jib. You know, this is a small jib, but a bigger jib will give you more flexibility on different locations. The other thing that we're starting to do in events is to have like a track dolly. So that means that this camera, if it was here, and for some reason the action shift to the other side of the stage, then I can move this camera. We normally don't cut to that camera during those movements, but at least that gives you the ability to be in more places. We are proud, like one of the things that we did, and yeah, let's not say that it was the first ever, but at League of Legends, we did two pretty awesome things. Like one is that we created 15 vantage points with only 7 cameras. That means exactly that. That means that at certain times of the production, we will change the camera, we will have everything rigged for another signal, and we move it because we knew how to follow that action. And the other thing that we did that, you know, it was magic, is having a Steadicam on a live broadcast on the stage. That allowed us, like in this case, when the team was racing the cup and the championship, we didn't want it to be in a steady position. We wanted to be there. And our solution to that, to be closer to the action, was to have a Steadicam. So to your point, the challenges are very similar to traditional broadcast. The solutions, you have to be a little bit more creative.
Question?
Do you have any issues with flame effects or laser or haze stage elements?
As a regular camera will have. The truth is that most of those, but lasers, lasers hit your sensor and you're done, any camera, right? And even those shows are designed in a way that it's almost impossible that a laser will hit a sensor. Like, they don't throw that to people, and normally our cameras are actually where the people is. On the other side, gaze, smoke, all of that actually adds a awesome element of presence and being, you know, outside of your living room.
What are the pros and cons of shooting or streaming in stereo versus mono?
That's a great question. So the pro is just, you know, when you get a stereoscopic, you're going to get a little bit of depth. And when done right, it's beautiful. The cons is that you have to stream now, you know, the two independent eyes. So that means that you're going to need, if you want to maintain the same quality that you're having on a monoscopic feed, then you're going to have to duplicate your bandwidth and your stream. So really the trade-off is just that right now there's not enough bandwidth on average from the users to be able to enjoy a stereoscopic in good resolution. And this is a great question, because when we talk to our clients and things that we're doing in our productions, for us with Nokia OZO, doing stereo or mono live, it's a flip of a switch. We don't have to do, there's no additional pre-pro, there's no additional setup. It's ready. It's a matter of what is going to be your distribution strategy and platform. Of course, if you're doing or pushing something to Samsung VR, stereoscopic will be amazing, because you know that the user is going to be behind the Gear VR and they're going to be able to, you know, have like a better experience. When you're doing it through YouTube, you might as well do it mono and push as higher quality as you can.
And real quick follow-up, do you have metrics on what people are mostly watching in terms of quality and bandwidth?
On average, on average, we've studied that people have around, on Wi-Fi, 10 megabits per second. That will be kind of like the average that we're seeing. If people are on their phones, they're going to be more like in the 3 to 5 megabits per second. 1080p, yeah. And then on Wi-Fi, they're going to be getting like 2K most likely.
What's the source resolution with
Yeah, well, the OZO, it's creating a signal in 4K. And it's actually awesome because it's not only 4K, it's UHD. And UHD is the 4K that is actually also part of the broadcast systems, right? When you downgrade, it is like the resolution that you're losing is just mostly the bit rate, not so much about the frame size, if that makes sense. So yes, it's going to be less resolution when you go from 4K to 2K or 1080p, but it's not only about the frame size change, but mostly is that regardless, there's no sense of having 20 megabits per second 1080p stream, right? So it's in that same scale.
You talked a little bit about moving cameras. Do you ever cut to a moving camera, or do you stick to just moving them around and cutting when they're static?
Yeah, most of the time we cut them where they're static. When we cut them, when it's in movement, is generally if we're doing some kind of like a forward movement. That's when we actually cut during, and it's pretty powerful. Here we've been testing a little bit the going up and going down. We would love the people that is actually watching in virtual reality. You can post on YouTube. Tell us if you like that or not, because we will love your opinion.
When you're going into pre-production for an event and you're planning out for, let's say, one of the major concerts, what's the minimum bandwidth that you are working with your IP company or whoever? What is the minimum that you're going to walk into?
Yeah, so the minimum is going to be something like per stream 15 megabits per second. Bandwidth and an uplink is kind of like a luxury. So that will be the minimum. Like if you go below that, then you just, you need at least 15. Now there's platforms like YouTube where you need to send one stream and a backup stream. So that means that your minimum is 30 megabits per second if you're doing to YouTube. The position in which we are actually, we rarely are constrained by bandwidth. So we normally have between 150 and 200 megabits per second, because we not only create, like League of Legends, we were streaming 5 streams at the same time. The user had a director cut, and then they had the ability to go and cut into 4 additional cameras themselves. So we had a lot of bandwidth there.
So I think we have time for one more question.
Hi. How do you see the role of advertising content marketing evolving in virtual reality live streams in the next 5 years?
That's another great question. So the power of virtual reality is that, once you are in it, there's nowhere else to go. So we have to be very careful, because of course, like the first thing everybody will say is like, awesome, let's put some ads, right? They don't have nowhere to go, then let's just, well, they'll take the headset out. So I think we need to be very responsible about that. What is going to happen with virtual reality advertisement, most likely, or where we are seeing it and we're going to be implementing it, it's more about product placement. So how product placement and environment placement. So it's figuring out how something is its marketing or a brand without having to look like an ad. And that's where some of the mixed reality techniques and graphics that we're doing are going to help us to accomplish that. Like, if I can brand that stage that had no branding and now it's Coachella or something like that, then that's, I think, where it's going to go. We're also think that we want to push more into transactional monetization. So we don't have to rely necessarily on, putting a lot of ads in virtual reality.
Do you mean like pay to play?
Yes. Okay. So yeah, coming soon. Interesting news about that with Vantage TV.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome.
Well, thanks very much. How about another hand for Juan? Thank you guys all for being here. On behalf of Nokia, I also want to thank the Upload VR crew, Ned and Daisy and Taylor and everybody here for just being a terrific host for this event. This is a hand for Upload. This is a great space they have here. It's a great resource for the VR community, and you know, I hope we'll see you here at a lot of future events. I also want to thank Dirk Lindemeyer, who did who directed both shows this week, and of course the whole crew from Nokia who came here to execute on them. So thanks you all for being here. We'll be here for a while. Stick around, ask some questions. There's headsets in the back that have some OZO sample content, as well as some of the work that Juan did at the Austin City Limits Festival. So stick around, have some drinks, and chat. Thanks again.